You think you know what societal collapse looks like. You've seen the movies, you've watched the channels, you've got food stored, maybe a generator, maybe a go bag by the door. None of that is what kills people when society actually breaks down. I spent weeks researching this after realizing my own prep plan had a massive gap I never considered. The thing that kills people, the thing that has killed people every single time civilization is fractured in modern history, isn't starvation in week one. It isn't dehydration. It's something most preppers never stock, never train for, and never talk about. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what that is and the specific steps that separate the families who make it from the ones who don't. Because if you're building your prep plan around what survival channels tell you to focus on, you are building it wrong. And you need to know that before it's too late to fix it. Here's the most common belief Americans have about societal collapse: that it looks like an apocalypse movie. Instant chaos, explosions, people running, total breakdown in 48 hours. That is not how it happens. And that wrong mental model is exactly what gets people killed. Real societal collapse is slow. It looks like the shelves at your Walmart getting thinner every week. It looks like your neighbor losing their job and getting desperate 3 months in. It looks like local police stopping responding to non-emergency calls because the city can't make payroll. The Texas freeze in 2021 gave millions of Americans a 4-day preview of what early collapse feels like. And most people burned through their supplies in 36 hours because they assumed it would be over sooner. It wasn't, and that assumption cost people their lives. Here's what nobody tells you. The first and most dangerous threat in a societal collapse isn't physical, it's psychological. Within the first 2 weeks of a serious collapse scenario, studies of past grid down and supply disruption events show that decision-making quality in unprepared adults drops dramatically. You stop thinking clearly. You start making emotional decisions. You share information you shouldn't share. You trust people you shouldn't trust. You freeze when you need to move, and you move when you need to freeze. This is where it gets deadly. A family that has 2 months of food but zero psychological preparation will give away their location, their supplies, and their safety within the first week. Not because someone took it from them at gunpoint, but because panic and social pressure made them do it voluntarily. Your neighbor knocks on your door crying. Your kids are watching. What do? You need to have that answer decided before that moment arrives, because in the moment, you will make the wrong call. Most people get this completely wrong and spend all their prep money on gear and zero time on community. And here's the part that will surprise you. The single strongest predictor of survival in collapse scenarios across every documented case from Hurricane Katrina to the Argentine economic collapse of 2001 is whether you had trusted relationships with people around you before the collapse began. Not guns, not food stockpiles, relationships. People who knew their neighbors, who had established trust and informal agreements before disaster hit, consistently outperformed solo preppers with superior gear. A group of 5 households sharing resources, skills, and security watch is exponentially harder to threaten than one household with a basement full of supplies. The Argentine collapse lasted years. The families that made it through weren't the ones with the biggest stockpiles. They were the ones who built networks. Start that today, not after, today. This is the part that genuinely shocked me when I came across it, and it's the part most preppers never think about. Now let's talk about the thing survival channels never mention. The legal and bureaucratic collapse that follows physical collapse. When systems break down, the rules don't disappear. They get weaponized by whoever has the power to enforce them. After Katrina, local officials confiscated legally owned firearms from private citizens. During COVID, landlord-tenant laws were suspended, property rights got murky, and people who thought they owned things found out they had far less control than they believed. Your prep plan needs a legal and documentation layer. Physical copies of every important document, deed, insurance policies, medical records, prescriptions, vehicle titles, stored in a waterproof, fireproof document bag. The SentrySafe QE 311 fireproof document bag runs about $35 on Amazon and fits in a standard desk drawer. If your home burns, floods, or gets seized and you can't prove ownership of anything, you have nothing. A piece of paper becomes the most powerful object you own. And here's the part that will surprise you about the psychological piece specifically. The families who maintain normalcy routines during collapse, regular mealtimes, sleep schedules, designated roles for each family member, even small traditions, show measurably lower stress responses and better decision-making than families who let structure dissolve. Your kids need to know what their job is. Your partner needs a defined role. You need a decision-making framework established before chaos hits. Who makes the final call on evacuation, on resource sharing, on security? Write it down. Laminate it, put it in your go bag next to the food and the first aid kit. Because when your brain is flooded with cortisol and your kids are scared and your neighbor's at the door, a piece of paper with your own handwriting on it is the clearest thinking you'll do in that moment. Everything I just told you, that's only half the story. The part most survival channels never cover, that's coming next. And trust me, you need to hear it. But right now, today, do one thing. Write down the names of 3 neighbors you actually trust, not acquaintances, people you'd open your door to at 2 a.m. If you can't name 3, that's your first prep gap, not your food supply, not your generator. So tell me, do you know your neighbors well enough to survive with them, or are you planning to go it alone? Drop your honest answer in the comments below.